On his path to championship glory, or so he dreams, Jake Paul beat up another undersized non-boxer. This time it was the tough-as-nails bare-knuckle champion and former UFC fighter Mike Perry, but it still took him 6 rounds.
I knew if I didn't get him out of there in the first round that it would happen later on in the fight, so I was mentally prepared for both, but I just believe in my power so much. I put him down in the first round, but he just kept coming. So respect to Mike Perry. That's why he's the king of violence, former king of violence. I'm the new king of violence, but respect to him.
The build-up was as outrageous as the fight. Paul, who was also the promoter, was supposed to be facing Mike Tyson, who is 58 and hasn't boxed in 2 decades. But Tyson suffered a serious ulcer flare-up and had to postpone their meeting. It seems Paul didn't want to waste a fight camp or a chance at making money, so he scrambled for a new opponent and found Mike Perry, the middleweight bare-knuckle boxing champion. As a result, Paul came into the bout as the much larger man with far more boxing experience, lead in time, and as the hot favorite. Still, the two men seem to be taking things very, very seriously.
You seen how hard those big guys had to work to get me back? I was pushing through the whole bro, moving all of their ass. That's like 1,000 pounds of pressure. That's called platinum pressure. I'm putting it on them tomorrow night. I'm beating your ass, Jake.
He flew like 6 feet. But look, Dana White said that he's gonna give him a UFC contract if he can knock me out. Well, guess what, Dana? You can rip up the contract because I'm gonna up Mike Perry. Anyone you send at me, any one of your MMA fighters is getting up. They've been trying to assassinate me. They don't want me in this sport. They hate that I run this sport. But when you try to assassinate a guy like me, it only makes me bigger, Ariel. I'm on a mission from God. A mission from God. A servant of God to save this sport.
If Paul's mission is to save the sport, this won't be how he does it. While he looked fantastic, scoring multiple knockdowns on his way to the win, it was against Mike Perry. Even Mike didn't seem too fazed by the loss.
I think he was just too fast. He kept his feet moving. I expected that. He tried to grab me, and it wasn't as much as I thought he was going to grab me. He used his movement. I parried his jabs. His right hook hit me easier than I expected, but I blocked it a couple times like I thought I would, but then, it just kept coming, and I made a couple mistakes and didn't block some of them, and they hit me.
In beating Perry, Paul kept his November fight with Mike Tyson alive. But instead of calling out boxers to advance his career, he's calling out MMA fighters like they're going out of fashion. The first man he called out was a surprise. Not only because he did it in the ring and on FaceTime, but because it was the UFC's light heavyweight and former middleweight champion, Alex Pereira, who Paul hasn't really been beefing with.
He's tweeted about wanting to go into boxing. We got him on the FaceTime right there in the ring, and I said, yo, can you get out of your contract? If he can get out of his contract, then let's run it. And so when I asked him that, he had a pause. He looked at his manager. These guys aren't their own bosses, so.
Pereira may seem like an intriguing option, if only because he is a massive light heavyweight with genuine knockout power. He won't be dwarfed by Paul, and there's the fact that he's a multi-weight kickboxing champion, which makes him a far more formidable risk. The first issue, however, is that kickboxing and MMA aren't boxing. And in both of those sports, it's Pereira's brutal kicks that set up his lethal punches. The second issue is the same one that stops most UFC fighters from fighting boxers, and that's Dana White.
I want all the smoke, but at the end of the day, will Dana let him out? That's too big of a risk if I could embarrass his #1 praised fighter right now. But I want all the smoke. I want all the MMA guys, and I've beaten all of them. Who's next? He's the king right now of the UFC, so I want him. I'm going to decapitate him and dethrone him.
The second man Paul called out is Conor McGregor, which is a far more lucrative and slightly more likely option. The former UFC dual division champion has been struggling to get back into the cage for years now, and he's ventured into pro boxing before. Plus, McGregor is also part of the bare-knuckle fighting championship, where Perry is the middleweight champion, or at least he was. Hey Mike, you're released and you can go and compete in your smelly dirty boxing championship thing, McGregor tweeted in reference to Perry's dirty boxing championship. The smell of it? Good luck. You're fired.
Hey, that's f***ed up that you fired your BKFC champion, but
face of BKFC.
I told you that was going to happen. You know, I told you exactly what was going to happen. He was big upping his boy Mike Perry. I said, okay, Conor, like, after I fuck up Mike Perry, then you're next.
For now, Paul's march towards a cruiserweight title is unconventional and shouldn't work. He's not going to earn his way there with wins, but he could earn his way there by making a champion earn their biggest payday. Speaking of champions and paydays, the undisputed women's featherweight champ Amanda Serrano stepped up 3 divisions to junior welterweight, where she stopped Stevie Morgan in 2 rounds. It's almost like Morgan got under her skin.
Not under my skin, under my trainer's skin, Jordan Maldonado. And every time that happens, I don't know, I feed off of his energy, and he just makes me go out there, and he tells me forget the skills, just go out there and go through her. And that's what happens. And I remember the last time a girl did that to me, and that fight ended in 58 seconds. So I was just thinking that as well, you know.
Serrano went straight to work and performed like the superstar she is. And not because she needed to take out Morgan. Serrano has a massive rematch coming up with Katie Taylor for Taylor's undisputed junior welterweight titles, and she wanted to show she's ready.
Do you think I'm ready? I feel good at this weight. I felt strong. I know Katie Taylor is obviously not Stevie Morgan, but I'm coming in here with a more confident demeanor, and it's going to be a good fight this time, promise.
In other boxing news, the bantamweight champion Junto Nakatani destroyed Vincent Astrolabio with body shots in the first round to put everyone from bantam to lightweight on notice. And on the same card in Japan, Anthony Olascuaga knocked out the hometown hero Rico Kano to win the vacant WBO flyweight title in Olascuaga's 8th fight as a professional. In the main event of UFC on ESPN 60, Virna Jandiroba ended Amanda Lemos' second run at a title shot with a super slick armbar in the second round and possibly replaced her in a championship fight. Lemos performed exceptionally well in the grappling heavy affair, but an all-Brazilian battle on the mat was always going to favor Jandiroba. In the second round, Carcara took Lemos' back, and the transition from rear naked choke to armbar was simply stunning. I believe that this win, the way it went, especially not just beating but submitting a former title contender like Amanda, who is extremely tough, I think it should get me a title shot, said Jandiroba, and she could get what she wants. Jandiroba picked up one of the 4 performance bonuses awarded at UFC on ESPN 60. The other 3 went to the Mean Machine, Steve Garcia, Bulldog Bruno Gustavo da Silva, and Haider the Hurricane Emil for their knockouts, and possibly their fight names. In other UFC news, it looks like the promotion will not be using open scoring anytime soon, and for 2 very good reasons. UFC Vice President of Regulatory Affairs Mark Ratner has gone on record saying that he thinks the most exciting part of boxing, or MMA, is at the end of a title fight when you're waiting for Michael or Bruce Buffer to say, "and still," or "new." There's also the horrible fact that a bad decision, like the one seen more regularly in boxing, can lead to more lucrative rematches. But his other reason is a lesson learned from experience. We tried it in boxing. We had a 10-round fight. After 7, the guy knew he was winning. He started running, Ratner explained. If you know your fight is ahead after 4 rounds in a 5-round MMA fight, he might get on the ground and hold the guy down if he can. And no one wants to see that. And in other UFC news, ESPN has recognized Jon Jones as one of the greatest athletes of the 2000s, with Jones coming in at number 66. Jones ruled the light heavyweight division before claiming the heavyweight title, but repeated PED violations and criminal charges likely cost him. So who beat him on the list? Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps claimed the number 1 spot, tennis icon Serena Williams, soccer superstar Lionel Messi, Basketball legend LeBron James and the NFL's Super Bowl hero Tom Brady rounded out the top 5. At UFC 304, Leon Edwards finally gives Bilal Muhammad his rematch. But this time, there'll be Leon's welterweight belt on the line. In the co-main event, Tom Aspinall risks his interim heavyweight title by taking on the perennial contender, Curtis Blades. And in boxing, Clarissa Shields looks to make history by moving up 2 divisions to face the WBC heavyweight champion, Vanessa Lepage-Joannis. Or is that just the 1 division, as the WBO is calling it a fight for their vacant light heavyweight title? Why? Because boxing.
Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.